The service corridor smelled of fresh linens and cleaning supplies. Around me, actual staff members hurried past with garment bags and flower arrangements, none realizing that the woman in an understated navy dress signed their paychecks. A young employee noticed my hesitation near the kitchen entrance. "First time working a plaza wedding?" she asked kindly. "Something like that." I adjusted my simple pearl earrings, the same ones I wore while signing the acquisition papers for this hotel last month. "The Thompson wedding is brutal," she whispered. The bride's stepmother already made 2 servers cry during the rehearsal dinner. Yes, Patricia Thompson, formerly Patricia Warner, who'd swept in and married my ex-husband James barely 6 months after our divorce was finalized. The same woman who'd spent the past 5 years trying to erase any trace of me from my daughter Emma's life. The kitchen was organized chaos. In the center stood Patricia, resplendent in a designer dress that probably cost more than my first car. She was berating a flower arranger about the shade of roses in the centerpieces. "Is there a problem?" I asked mildly. Patricia spun around, her professionally highlighted hair swishing. "Who are you? Where's your uniform?" "Sarah Anderson, Emma's mother." Recognition flickered across her face, followed by a practiced sneer. "Oh yes. Emma mentioned you might come early too. Help." She looked me up and down. The staff entrance was clearly marked. "They were very helpful with directions," I said, enjoying her confusion at my lack of embarrassment, though I had hoped to see my daughter before the ceremony. "Emma's quite busy with important guests." Patricia's smile was razor sharp. "We wouldn't want to overwhelm her with additional complications." I thought of my daughter, but called me in tears last week about Patricia taking over the entire wedding planning. "I understand perfectly." The kitchen doors swung open as James walked in, still handsome in his tuxedo but softer around the middle than when we'd met in college. He stopped short at the sight of me. "Sarah, what are you doing back here?" "Just following the seating arrangement your wife designed," I said pleasantly. Very thoughtful of her to consider my position. James at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. "Patricia, we discussed this. Sarah should be seated with family." "Darling," Patricia's voice dripped honey, "we agreed to maintain certain standards for Emma's special day. After all, we wouldn't want to make our guests uncomfortable." 15 years ago, her words would have cut deep. Now they barely registered. I learned that true power didn't need to announce itself. "Mom." Emma stood in the doorway, beautiful in her wedding dress. My heart clenched. She looked so much like I had at her age, before life had taught me its hardest lessons. "What are you doing in the kitchen?" She turned to her stepmother. "Patricia, why isn't my mother in the bridal suite?" "Just a small misunderstanding, darling," Patricia said smoothly. "Your mother arrived early, and you know how confusion can happen with the staff entrance." I watched my daughter's face cloud over. "This isn't what we discussed. Mom is supposed to be." "It's fine, sweetheart," I interrupted gently. "Your stepmother is right about maintaining standards." I checked my watch, a subtle Cartier that cost more than Patricia's entire wedding ensemble. "The guests will be arriving soon." "But Mom." Though finished getting ready, I squeezed her hand. "This is your day. Don't let anything spoil it." As Emma reluctantly left, Patricia's triumph was palpable. "Well, now that's settled. The staff dining room is through those doors. I'm sure you'll be quite comfortable there." I caught James watching me, perhaps remembering the young woman who'd once believed in his promises of forever, the woman who'd supported his career while raising their daughter and building something of her own in secret. "James," I said softly, "you might want to remind your wife about the importance of kindness. Sometimes the people we dismiss turn out to be more important than we imagine." He opened his mouth, but Patricia cut him off. "James, darling, the photographer needs you. Sarah, I'm sure you can find your way to your designated area." I watched them leave, Patricia's hand possessively on James's arm. Through the kitchen windows, I could see guests beginning to arrive. Manhattan's elite, all here to witness the joining of 2 prestigious families. If only they knew that the help they were so eager to hide owned not just this hotel, but the entire block of premium real estate it sat on. But patience had taught me that the sweetest victories come to those who wait. And as I heard Patricia complaining about the champagne service to an increasingly nervous catering manager, I knew my moment would come. After all, I hadn't spent the last 15 years building an empire just to be relegated to the kitchen at my own daughter's wedding. Patricia Thompson was about to learn a valuable lesson about underestimating the wrong woman, and I was going to enjoy every minute of it. The wedding ceremony was underway, and from my strategic position near the kitchen, I could observe everything while remaining conveniently invisible to the society crowd. Patricia had orchestrated what she clearly thought was the perfect slight, a mother of the bride, hidden away, unable to participate in her daughter's special day. Through the service doors, I watched Emma exchange vows with David, a genuinely kind young man who, ironically, had made his own fortune much like I had, starting from nothing. Patricia had initially opposed the match until discovering his family's recent wealth. The thought made me smile. More champagne, Mrs. Anderson. Claire, the kind server from earlier, appeared at my elbow. Over the past hour, the staff had gradually realized I wasn't quite what I seemed, especially after they noticed I knew intimate details about the hotel's operations. Thank you, Claire. How's the new break room renovation coming along? She blinked in surprise. You know about that. I know many things, I replied, taking a sip, including how Patricia threatened to have you fired for accidentally spilling water during the rehearsal dinner. Claire's face flushed. She demanded to speak to the owner. Yes, I imagine she did. I checked my phone, noting an email from my CEO assistant confirming that the Thompson family's recent loan application to our banking division had been flagged for review. Interesting timing, considering the extravagance of this wedding. The ceremony concluded and guests began flowing into the grand ballroom. I watched Patricia work the room, playing the perfect society hostess while carefully steering influential guests away from any mention of the bride's biological mother. Mom. Emma appeared beside me, her face worried. You shouldn't be back here. Your seat should be at the family table. Actually, Patricia's voice cut in as she approached us. The seating arrangements are final. We wouldn't want to disturb the careful planning. I saw tears forming in my daughter's eyes, and something in me shifted. I planned to wait, to let this play out gradually, but seeing Emma's pain changed everything. Patricia, I said calmly, perhaps we should discuss this in private. There's nothing to discuss, she smiled tightly. The staff dining room is perfectly adequate. Mrs. Thompson, Claire interrupted, appearing with perfect timing. The owner would like a word about the payment situation. Patricia's smile faltered slightly. What payment situation? The bounced checks, Claire said innocently, from the last 3 events your family hosted here. The color drained from Patricia's perfectly made-up face. There must be some mistake. My husband handles all the payments. Yes, I said softly. James always did have trouble managing money. It's why I handled our finances during our marriage. Patricia's eyes narrowed. What would you know about? Mom, Emma cut in. What's going on? I straightened my simple pearl necklace. Patricia, would you like to explain to my daughter why you're so concerned about the owner discovering your family's financial difficulties, or shall I? I don't know what you're talking about, she hissed, but her hands were shaking slightly. The Thompson family has been maintaining appearances by borrowing heavily against James's declining investment portfolio, I said calmly. This wedding alone costs more than their liquid assets could cover. Isn't that right, Patricia? How dare you, she started, but I held up my hand. The Grande Plaza's owner takes financial responsibility very seriously, as do all the properties under Anderson Hospitality Group's umbrella. Understanding dawned on Patricia's face, followed quickly by horror. Anderson, hospitality, including this hotel, the country club where you host your charity events, and yes, the bank currently reviewing your family's loan applications. I smiled. I've been meaning to introduce myself properly. Sarah Anderson, CEO and majority shareholder. Emma's eyes widened. Mom, I'm sorry I kept this from you, sweetheart. I wanted to give you space to build a relationship with your stepmother without complications. I turned back to Patricia, who had gone deathly pale. Though I admit, watching you try to hide me in the kitchen of my own hotel was not part of the plan. The sound of breaking glass made us all turn. James stood there, a shattered champagne flute at his feet, staring at me like he was seeing a ghost. Sarah, he whispered, you're the owner. Among other things, I said quietly, though perhaps we should discuss the $300,000 in bounced checks before we talk about ownership. Patricia swayed slightly. This is impossible. Actually, I replied, it's just good business. Now, shall we discuss how to handle this situation with dignity, or would you prefer to continue treating your daughter's mother like the help? The power dynamic had shifted so completely, I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. But as I watched tears of humiliation fill Patricia's eyes, I remembered every slight, every attempt to diminish my role in Emma's life, every condescending remark about my supposed status. The time for patience was over. Now it was time for lessons to be learned, and I had 15 years of them to teach. The transformation of Patricia Thompson over the next hour was more satisfying than any corporate takeover I ever orchestrated. Gone was the society queen who tried to banish me to the kitchen. In her place stood a woman whose perfectly applied makeup couldn't hide her mounting panic. "You own everything," she whispered, clutching her champagne glass like a lifeline. "Not everything," I said mildly. "Just the Plaza Hotel Group, the Windsor Country Club where you host your charity events," and I paused for effect. "That lovely summer house you're so proud of in the Hamptons. The rental agreement comes up for review next month, I believe." James sat heavily in a nearby chair, his face ashen. "All these years, while I thought you were struggling, while you thought I was nothing," I finished for him. "Yes, it's amazing what a woman can accomplish when men underestimate her." Emma stepped forward, tears threatening to spill. "Mom, why didn't you ever tell me?" "Because I wanted you to grow up understanding the value of work, not privilege." I touched her cheek gently. "Though I must admit, watching your stepmother redirect my wedding gift to the service entrance was not quite what I had in mind." Patricia's face went from pale to crimson. "That gift, the anonymous donation that paid for the entire wedding, was from me?" "Yes," I smiled. "Consider it my last lesson in humility." The wedding planner appeared at the door, nervous about the delay. I checked my watch. "Well, I believe we have a ceremony to attend. Unless," I raised an eyebrow at Patricia, "you'd still prefer I dine with the staff." "Sarah, please," James started, but I held up a hand. "Save it, James. This isn't about revenge. It's about respect." I turned to Patricia. "You have two choices. Either I announce my ownership of your favorite properties right now, very publicly, or you spend the next year proving you can change." "Change how?" Her voice was barely audible. "Start by apologizing to every staff member you've berated today. Then set up a foundation, with your money, not mine, to support service workers' education. Show me you learned something besides the fact that wealth doesn't equal worth." Emma surprised me by stepping forward. "I want to help with that foundation, Mom." I should have stood up to this behavior long ago. I studied my daughter's face, seeing the strong woman she'd become despite the privilege that could have spoiled her. "I'm proud of you, sweetheart." As the wedding resumed, with me in my rightful place in the front row, I watched Patricia awkwardly make amends to the staff she terrorized earlier. James kept shooting me wondering glances, perhaps finally seeing the woman he'd undervalued for so long. Later, during the reception, Emma found me on the terrace. "You know what's funny, Mom? All those times Patricia bragged about her connections and looked down on your small business consulting job. Sometimes the best power is the kind you don't flaunt," I said, hugging her. "Remember that, sweetheart. True class isn't about what you own. It's about how you treat people." As I watched my daughter dance with her new husband, I thought about the young woman I've been, cleaning hotel rooms while studying business at night. The woman who turned heartbreak into motivation and rejection into empire. Patricia approached hesitantly. "I've been horrible, haven't I?" "Self-awareness is a good first step," I replied. "What matters is what you do next." She squared her shoulders. "I'd like to start that foundation, if you'll help me do it right." I smiled, remembering another society woman who'd once looked down on me. I'd bought her company too, but more importantly, I'd never become her. First lesson in humility starts tomorrow, Patricia. 7 a.m. in the hotel kitchen. Wear comfortable shoes. As the night wound down, I took one last look around the grand ballroom, my ballroom, and smiled. Sometimes the best revenge isn't showing people how powerful you are. It's teaching them why they were wrong to abuse that power in the first place. After all, true success isn't just about building an empire. It's about building a legacy of respect, one humbling lesson at a time.